Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this. This is Combat Sports News right here on the KocoSports.net YouTube channel. This is LK from KocoSports.net. That's KOCO Sports.net, where the world goes to kick ass. You have a combat sports and above all, where it's okay to be a passionate fan. Quite a bit of news to cover today. I'm going to cover a bit of Ring of Honor news, some WWE news. Bray Wyatt with a cryptic tweet. The Young Bucks declining their WWE contract on the being the elite, as well as giving you the Raw results from last night. Watched half the show live, then watched the other half when I woke up this fine morning. Busy bee today, so it's going to crack this one out. Apologies, it's 12:48 p.m. UK time, so that's only about 6 a.m. American time, so do apologize. But let's get down to breaking down the Monday Night Raw show. This one was dubbed a kind of reset, and at the end of the show, Michael Cole said this is episode 1 of this new era of Monday Night Raw. And we've seen lots of resets. This show to me kind of reminded me of a WCW reboot back in '99 when Russo and Eric Bischoff kind of retook on script the show back, and they vacated all the titles. It wasn't no vacation of any belts, but it did feel different. And the one thing I want to praise before any negativity, one thing I want to praise is how the show actually felt like anything might happen, which is we haven't felt that in a while, which is a really good thing. It felt like, okay, I'm kind of interested. I'm kind of not going to turn off because I'm interested to see in what's going to happen next. Some of the decisions were a bit questionable, but let's get down to it. Show opened with Vince McMahon. He came out, massive pop, biggest pop of the night. I haven't seen Vince in donks probably since the 25th anniversary of Raw back in January. Stephanie McMahon then comes out, and initially I was like, oh, because I thought it was just going to be Stephanie. I was like, oh no. And then Triple H came out, Shane McMahon come out. They pretty much announced that they've been doing a bad job. That is literally what they stated, and that they'll be, running WWE themselves. Which obviously there's no more Baron Corbin in GM after TLC. So we'll touch on Baron Corbin in a minute. So it's, what about Paige? And will that be addressed tonight on SmackDown? I have no idea. But what about Paige? Is the banging question of the night. I have no idea, because they literally stated that Vince, and does this mean Vince will be on TV all the time? Why was it that Shane was involved in some backstage segments, yet Triple H, Stephanie, and Vince weren't involved in them all? How come Stephanie was only involved with the women and nothing else? Like, it's kind of like a bit confusing. It's a bit strange when you have 19 people running a show. It was already confusing enough with 2. Now we've got 4. If we're adding Paige in the mix on SmackDown Live, you've got 5. And what's Paige going to do now? Is she going to become a backstage correspondent? She going to be fucking running around, fucking asking questions? I have no idea, but it'll be interesting to see what they do regardless. But at least it's something different. And the dynamic of, Shane being the babyface, Vince being kind of a tweener, Triple H being over with the hardcore wrestling fans and heel to the casuals, and then Stephanie's hated by everyone. Wrestling wise, not as a human being, but character wise, I'm talking here, of course. So it's kind of like, I don't know what they're trying to do there, because are they going to have certain characters, do stories with, say, Vince, other characters doing stories with Trips, other characters doing stories with Shane, others doing characters with Stephanie? I have no idea what they're going to do, and it's interesting. At least it's interesting. At least it's something to talk about. But I just kind of didn't understand the decision. I was myself, and I said this on Saturday's, I think it was Saturday's Combat Sports News on my TLC preview. I predicted Corbin to lose and then to do a superstar shakeup. And I think they could have. I like the fact it's not the heel authority anymore, because we've done that storyline since 2013 now, and it's kind of getting a bit old. So at least they're kind of refreshing it a little bit. But you're having heels and faces both be in charge, you're kind of going to get such a lopsided, because then when the face goes to the heel, he or she will get punished, and when the heel goes to the face, he or she will get punished. Either way, there'll be punishments, and it confuses me. They said they've been listening to the fans more and declared the fans are the new authority. Corbin showed up to beg for his job back, so they put him in a no disqualification handicap match against half a dozen people. So Kurt Angle was the guy. It was Kurt Angle versus Baron Corbin, originally scheduled one-on-one. If Corbin won, he would get his GM job back. Kurt Angle with a big pop. But the match turned into a handicap. It turned into no DQ. Apollo Crews Rude and Gable, the Raw Tag Champs, and Heath Slater is the guest referee. They all defeated Corbin. So Corbin is no longer an authority figure. I like at least they're kind of following up on the story. I was worried they wouldn't have Corbin come out at all. So at least they had Corbin come out. They had that story and that chapter of his career closed. And he can move on to whatever it is he's going to do next. I know he's got a match with not Finn Balor, because it's a 3-way next week. I know Corbin's facing Seth Rollins next week. And I know those matches have already been taped. And they were taped last night. Obviously, it's a Christmas Eve edition of Raw. Apparently, lots of people left, which is a bit worrying. But again, the show's 3 hours live, and then they're expecting another hour and a half to an hour's worth of programming, plus main event taped before. Oof, no, thank you, sir. Don't blame him. Then we had Finn Balor versus Dolph Ziggler, went in a no contest when Drew McIntyre came in and attacked both men. This was going on to be a really good match. This match was created at the TLC show when Dolph Ziggler attacked Finn Balor. And Dolph Ziggler going back to being a heel was good. I think that's the best place for him. I think he's a great heel. He's a good babyface. He's a better heel. I think he's just naturally good at it. And why not have him there? It's like Orton. He's a good babyface. And I remember back in 2010, 2011, there's probably not a man more over in the industry at the time. But now it's like he's so good as a heel. Why not play to that strength? And putting him against Ray, who is a great babyface, has done great for Orton and Ray. And that match at TLC I really rated. I thought it was a very, very good match. And if you haven't yet, go out your way to watch it. And watch Daniel Bryan and AJ if you haven't. The women's 3-way TLC. Overall, I think TLC, I didn't touch on it, was a good, solid wrestling pay-per-view. Some of the booking was a bit questionable. But for the majority, I think it was a really good show. One of the better pay-per-views of 2018, in my opinion. A good step heading into this Raw, at least. But Balor and Ziggler was my match of the night. I really enjoyed it. They got given quite a bit of time, went 2 commercial breaks. I think it was great. Drew McIntyre came out, attacked both men with claymores, setting up a 3-way next week with McIntyre, Ziggler, and Balor. So that should be fun at least. And then we had Dean Ambrose come out. He announces an open challenge for anyone that is not Seth Rollins, and Tyler Breeze come out, which was good. I watched his match on NXT last week for the North American title against Ricochet, and that was a great match. Highly recommend you guys to go out of your way and watch that if you have not. But it was good to see Tyler Breeze. It's a different face, and people on social media getting upset because, he lost. What did that do for Tyler Breeze? He got some crucial airtime. He can come out next week and say, you know what? I face one of the best in Dean Ambrose, and that kind of gave me the motivation I kind of need heading into the new year. I was this close to beating him. I had him on the ropes. I know what I need to do to beat him next time. And boom, you have Tyler Breeze. Boom, motivated. Boom, have him in there, get himself a win. But you don't want to push too many people at one time. That's the only problem. They're trying to push Cruz, Rude, Gable, Slater, fucking Breeze, and these 6 new talents that are coming coming from NXT. You don't want to push too many people because then too many people will come down. And then you're going to just have people in the middle. And I think that's the biggest problem with the WWE. There's not anyone who's up here. Everyone's kind of oof, 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 oof. Whereas back in the day, the 80s and 90s, you'd have boof, boof, boof. Everyone had their place. And people just moved up or moved down. I think that's how it should be. But good match anyway. And then Seth Rollins dressed as one as Ambrose's gas mask entrance henchman attacked Ambrose. I thought that was fun. It was kind of a bit obvious, but you kind of forgot about it as the match came. So when he came out, you're like, okay, cool, that's Rollins. But then as the match came on, you were drawn into the match, fucking English melt, drawn into the match. And then you kind of watching the match, and then Ambrose on, you're like, okay, cool, we had a heartful match. Off he goes. Rollins isn't here tonight. And then Rollins comes in and hits him with a fucking takes out the henchman and attacked Ambrose. It was pretty decent stuff. And then they announced that EC3, Lars Sullivan, Heavy Machinery, Nikki Cross, and Lacey Evans are on their way to WWE. We'll talk about that a bit more in the news portion of the show. Then we had Lio Rush and Bobby Lashley cut a promo making fun of Elias, doing poses, and then basically Elias attacked them. We're continuing this rivalry. I'm hoping this leads to a qualifying match for the Rumble. I really do. But either way, yeah, it was solid. And then the Revival defeated AOP, the B Team, and Lucha House Party in a Fatal 4-Way number 1 contenders tag team match. So we're now having Gable and Rude defending the Raw belts against the Revival. That should be a solid program, and I hope they build up the Revival. I think they're a great team. They just kind of haven't had that push quote push that they kind of needed. They've been getting quite a bit of TV time, and that's the Lucha House Party getting quite a bit of TV time. Good to see them on Raw. Hope to see them still on 205 Live as regulars. But this was a good match. They won with the hitting the Shatter Machine on Bo Dallas, which was solid, and it was a good match. It was a fun match, and at least the tag team division is getting kind of hit the reset button as well. And then the Ronda Rousey came out. She cut a promo about how champions should defend their championship the night after pay-per-views, no matter what condition they're in. Too many women then came out. They basically didn't come out. They were backstage and kind of shouting at it was fucking Billy Kidman and some agents. Billy Kidman was fucking great wrestler. What a worker. And they're literally just screaming. And Stephanie's like, enough. And then, like, this is what's going to happen. And we're going to have a gauntlet match. And the winner will be the number one contender for the Raw Women's belt. So Natalya won it, last defeating Sasha Banks. She also defeated Ruby Riott and Ember Moon. So she knocked off 3 women. Ruby Riott and Ember Moon, if I'm right, were by roll-ups. But this was solid. I really enjoyed it. Everyone kind of looked good. The Banks and Natalya exchange at the end was a solid last 5 minutes, which was fun. It finished a bit early because we kind of felt this kind of dragging sense where they promoted next week's show. But I'm not expecting the ratings to be great for next week's show because it's Christmas Eve. He's going to be sat in and watching Monday Night Raw. They're going to be with their families watching some Christmas films. I mean, you may watch Raw. I mean, maybe it's not live, it's taped. You can just look up the results. Like, okay, cool, that happened. You can move on. So if Raw hits a historic low next week, don't be surprised. It's happened every week, but I wouldn't be surprised if it happened this time. And then Ronda Rousey came out. They hugged. It was cute. Move on. Boom. Next week, Natalya Ronda Rousey for the Raw Women's Championship on Raw's Christmas Eve show. So that's the Raw done. Now let's get to the news. Let me quickly drag my notepad up to my big screen here so I can see it in full. Let me put my glasses on so I can damn see because the writing's a bit small. So I've copied it. Basically what I've done is, if you don't know what I do, is I go onto the various news sites and I take notes and I give my opinion and give you guys the news for the day. So Brave, and I'll get to live comments as well. I know it's a strange time. Let me see when how many live views. We don't have many live views. It's a strange time. If you are listening live, please feel free to put anything in the live comments, and I'll respond to it in due time once I finish breaking this bad boy down. I understand it's like 6, 7 a.m. American time. Basically, getting up, going to work or whatever. But Bray Wyatt posted a couple of cryptic tweets on the Twitter machine. And I copy and pasted them. And it says, I'm not a god, I never was. I'm sorry, I said it, I was wrong. I know the true God now and all his power. I feel that I am forgiven for all the wickedness I have caused. My soul is clean now. My mind is clear. I see what I did wrong, but what was done to me. That they took it all. I have so many things to fix. I realized that I was sick. My mind doesn't work like other people's. It gets lost and attached to ideals that are unrealistic and poisonous. My next journey will be to find my true calling. This is goodbye. I don't know what to take about that. I mean, is that a personal tweet from Bray? And if it was, is he going to get in the doghouse from WWE? Is this him leaving the character of Bray Wyatt? Is he going to be Husky Harris again? That tank with the Ferrari engine. As Cole dubbed him at Rumble 11. I never remember pissing myself watching that. I remember it was a couple of years back. It was about 2015. I must have been about... No, it would have been about 2013. I think it was about 18 or 17 around the time I was around my mate's house, and it was before the Rumble 2013, exactly. And we were watching, what me and my mates used to do when we were younger. Oh my god, my fucking phone's going off like a piece of shit. Let me turn that around so I don't catch me in the corner of my eye. It's really frustrating. What we used to do is before every pay-per-view, so say for example, the pay-per-view we watched was No Way Out 2012. It comes to my mind. I would have been 16. Well, 15, actually. So, fucking imagine we used to sit there and go back and watch not all of them, but like throughout that week, we'd watch the pay-per-views heading into it. That's how obsessed we were of W at the time. If this was, if this was 2050, we'd have watched every TLCs before the TLC pay-per-view, as well as watching the Raw, as well as watching the SmackDown NXT main event superstars at the time. It was mad, it was consuming. And now adult life, having, adult things like having to have a job, to pay rent, to suck and live in my damn house. That's shit, isn't it? And family and friends and misses and this and that. It's not what it used to be, man. Life used to be so much simpler. Used to go out with my mates up every day after school, sit down on the sofa and watch good old pro wrestling with not a care in the world. That's the days. Anyway, this isn't an emotional torture of a show. Don't want to make anyone cry. Where was I? That was it. So we were watching, I think it was either 2013 or 2012. It would probably be 2012, actually. We were watching the 2011 Rumble on DVD. And because there wasn't a network at the time, so it would have been 2012. There wasn't a network at the time. And I remember we watched it, and Michael Cole called Husky Harris when he came sprinting out, he's a tank with a Ferrari engine. And it's one of those lines that I kind of use in my day-to-day life. There's very few lines in wrestling that I use every day. Most of them are commentary lines. That is one of them. If you remember when Dolph Ziggler, so for example, if there's a tank, I'll be like, oh, it's a tank with a Ferrari engine. So basically, if it's a big guy or a big gal who got like a loud mouth, I'll be like, it's a tank with a Ferrari engine. Or the other line I use is when JBL, when Dolph Ziggler cashed in Money in the Bank, and he was like, Del Rio pulled another rabbit out of the hat. So I always say, he pulled another rabbit out of the hat. I use that one quite a bit. And I always use, instead of if you build a sports entertainer from the ground up, you get Randy Orton. I say when I'm at work, if you build a chef from the ground up, you get you, or anything like that. I'm a pretty weird guy. Actually, I'm not weird. Depends who you talk to. Actually, that's not. I don't know. That's a great question. What is weird? Because to normal people, I'm coming up with banging sayings. Like, if you build a whatever from the ground up, you get that. That's a good saying. If you put a rabbit out of the hat, that's not weird. But to me, it's weird because I'm saying it because a fucking wrestling commentator said it. Like, sometimes I take a step back and think, what a fucking mark. Like, what a mark. Like, I don't get more marking than that. Anyway, back to the original point. I hope this is Bray Wyatt becoming a different character, because I think the Bray Wyatt character ran its course. It didn't do much for me. Good talent, just good character, just didn't work, didn't connect. I still want to talk about that. Young Bucks, they declined their WWE contract on the latest edition of Being the Elite. Frankie Kazarian dressed up as Triple H in the leather jacket. He basically gave him a contract. They signed a piece of paper and gave it back. You're like, no. And then they go to this farewell clip of their final battle at Ring of Honor, at Final Battle. Three-way ladder match, great match, watch it. And then they go on fight, or however you can watch it. And then they kind of go back, and then they see Triple H or Kazarian opening, and it says, "Thank you very much for the offer, but I saw what you did to the Raw's tag team division." No. It said this: "Thank you for the offer, but I watched Raw last week and saw what you did to the tag team division. Wish you best in future endeavors." And they super kicked Kazarian, who did the old Triple H sell like that, and I thought it was very funny. I thought it was very, very funny. I didn't watch Being the Elite for ages. I just didn't, and then I've kind of rewatched it. Now I kind of watch every week. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. This is why I don't do shows in the afternoon, ladies and germs. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn returning soon to Monday Night Raw, which is definitely needed, especially for the Rumble. Hopefully they build up Kevin Owens strong. Hopefully they don't just chuck him into a random feud, and please don't do him a feud with Sami Zayn, please. I love them wrestling, but I don't want to see it. But this is good for WWE because it gives more talent, more feuds. Like, I don't know who they're going to do with Zayn or Owens, but at least it's something that is different. We're not stuck with the same old stuff. On to more exciting things. Zack Sabre Jr. will be wrestling Shigehiro Iri on January the 11th in Guildford for Revolution Pro Wrestling. So if you live in the Guildford area, near the Guildford area in the UK, get your ass down there, because that'll be a banger of a match. Zack Sabre Jr. is having a crack in 2000. He had a banger of a match with Jonathan Gresham at Final Battle. And now we'll be wrestling Shigehiro Iri from DDT at Rev Pro. And he's wrestling Pac on the, I think it's the 5th, in the Cockpit in London for Rev Pro. And he wrestled Mike Bailey as well the past couple months ago in Rev Pro. So good stuff from Pac and Zack Sabre Jr. and Rev Pro. And good for Shigehiro Iri for getting bookings in the UK. I really do respect that. Then we have Akira Tozawa. If you're a Japanese wrestling fan, you're going to enjoy this portion of the show. He'll be wrestling for Fight Club Pro Project Tokyo, which is Fight Club Pro promotion, partly owned by Trent Seven in the UK. It's an indie, has an affiliation with NXT UK, of course. Hence why they can do kind of talent trades. But Akira Tozawa will be wrestling on January the 7th at the Kurikan Hall for the Fight Club Pro show. I reckon that solid. I reckon, you know, the Cahill holds around about 1,700 plus, give or take. I reckon we'll get 1,200. That's my prediction with Kurosawa, obviously wrestled in Japan's and fucking donks that isn't a W branded show. I think Simmer's on the show as well. So I'm expecting a good house for that. And hopefully it's on Makes Tape. I'm presuming Fight Club Pro have a streaming service that maybe I could sign up to so I can give it a watch. But I am definitely interested in seeing and announcing seeing who will be wrestling. Definitely. Bandido, the amazing talent. You may have heard of him from PWG or Dragon Gate. And Dragon Gate will definitely be where I've heard of him from. And he's signed with Ring of Honor. He'll be debuting 2019. That'd be interesting that, you know, a guy who wrestles for Dragon Gate signing with Ring of Honor, whose kind of Japanese promotion that they have is New Japan Pro Wrestling. Unless this might be the end of the... No, it's not the end of the Ring of Honor New Japan Pro Wrestling relationship, because it's the Honor Rising shows that have already been announced for February. They're not at the Korakuen this year, which just sucks, because I liked when they had the actual, you know, Ring of Honor ring and barricades in the Korakuen. I thought it looked really cool. But yeah, Bandido signing with Ring of Honor, good stuff. Obviously, them losing all the elite. Obviously, Mike's going, the Villain Enterprises is there, but good for Ring of Honor for signing top talent. I hope Ring of Honor now gets away from this Bullet Club, gets away from this being the elite, and goes back to what it was meant to be, and that's not stories, not story. And I know wrestling is at its best when there's stories, but Ring of Honor is a company that was founded upon not great stories. You know, there was a feud like the Kevin Owens and El Generico was a great feud. You know, Roddy Strong and Davey Richards, I remember from Final Battle 2010, was a banger of a feud. And there's lots of stuff the Ring of Honor did storylines, and I am expecting feuds. I'm not expecting like crazy stories like the Elite and stuff. I want to go back to wrestling. Who is the best wrestler? I want to see a code of honor. I want to see a handshake at the beginning and a handshake at the end, because that's where Ring of Honor was, you know, 10 years ago, and that's when it was exciting to me. And I'm not saying it's not exciting anymore. I'm just saying that they should go back to the roots. And by signing some of the top indie talent right now would be a great way to do it. No better than Bandido. He's great. Kano, he'll be challenging Kaito Kiyomiya for the GHC heavyweight title on January 6th for Pro Wrestling Noah. They challenged him post-match. Kiyomiya defeated Takashi Sugiura earlier this month for the GHC heavyweight championship, becoming the youngest GHC champion of all time. And I'm excited for that match. I think it's streaming live on January the 6th, and I'm a bit bummed because I think I'm working. I know I've got January the 4th and January the 5th off. I don't think I'm working. I think I'm working January the 6th, but I may call in sick because if that's streaming live, I'm definitely going to watch it. I know it's on, hopefully it's a G Plus or on Samurai, because then I'll be able to watch it live. I hook up my pal Patrick on being able to watch that live. Let's get to some MMA news before we get down to the live chat. Cool. And we will get to the live chat, don't you worry. Dominic Cruz, he just pulled out of the fight against John Lineker at UFC 233, which is funny because I made the, not made the announcement, but I talked about it about a week ago on Combat Sports News and how excited I was for the fight. But due to shoulder injury, he pulled out. But he did go on MMA Hour and announced he is not retiring and he's not going to quit. It's just an injury, because obviously came out of it. So at least he's not retiring. At least hopefully we can get the fight maybe at UFC 235 or whatever. But I just want to see the fight. I want to see Dominic Cruz back in there. I'm biased. Fuck it. And then Nate Diaz. There's this big rumor, this big rumor that he's fighting George Masvidal at UFC 235. The rumors are false. He claims he never even accepted the fight. So that puts a downer to those rumors. That would have been a good fight, seeing Nate Diaz back in the octagon. But it is what it is, and there's nothing you can do about it, Sonny boy. Let's get to the live chat. Hope we have some. If not, I'll sound like an absolute moron. We do have some. Rick 1982 says, hello, okay, how is everything? I'm living the dream. I'm about to go see what's 1:12 p.m. UK time. At 2 p.m. I'm meeting my biological father, the old man, at 2 o'clock, and we're going for a Costa coffee. Haven't seen him since June. It was my birthday, December 10th. And the piece of shit sent me on December the 12th. Happy birthday, son. Sorry it was late. Sorry, what was late? You being your fucking dad. Yeah, you piece of shit. Yeah, we shouldn't have said that. Digressing. And then you want to hear some banter. This is next level. No, I'm not going to say that. Not going to say that. Rick 1982 says it'll be interesting to hear your predictions for Wrestle Kingdom 13. Yeah, I'll be definitely giving them I'll probably make a video maybe the day before or whatnot. But I'll definitely. I know in January I spoke to Dave and we were pretty motivated to redo it to revamp this channel into the greatness. I'm starting now to wind down at work. As I said on Saturday. Wednesday's my training day, so I don't do shows on Wednesday. But Thursday I got the day off. Just looking forward to bringing some good quality content to the channel. I know Dave and Booms as well are the same. I can see Lacey. This is all Rick 1982, by the way. I can see Lacey Evans getting a huge push on the main roster. I hope Nikki Cross officially joins the SmackDown Live roster. I agree. Let's break that down. So Lacey Evans, I do expect her to have a big push because she's a character-driven wrestler, and Raw needs that. I'd like to see her go in there against. Who could we see her if we put Nikki Cross on SmackDown like you're saying and put Lacey Evans on Raw? I'd like to see her have a program on Bayley and Sasha Banks. I think that could be a good way to sink her teeth and get her over on that. But she's a heel, and there's lots of faces right now. You got Natalya, Ronda Rousey, Bayley, Sasha Banks. So it's a good time to be a babyface if you're a woman on the Raw roster. And then Nikki Cross, I'm also the same. I do hope that she joins the SmackDown roster. I would love to see them do some stuff with Sanity. I haven't seen Sanity in a long time. Are they still employed? Can someone hit me up if they're employed still? Because I have no idea. Generally no idea. How will Jake Strong do in his upcoming Bellator MMA debut? I don't know what his training's been like. I don't know what camp he's gone for. I'll do some homework before. And I'll definitely be watching the show. Because we can watch it in the UK on Channel 5 or Spike. It's basically Spike in America. So I can watch the show. I think it's the day after. So I'll be definitely watching the fight and covering it. But I wish him the best. Of course, I wish every fight the best. I wish every wrestler the best. I don't want anyone to fail or anyone to hurt themselves or anything. I hope he does well. Hopefully he does better than Punk. There you go, Vince said a bad word about Punk. So that in mind, there we go. Make sure you leave a like, drop a comment. Make sure you hit the subscribe button as well. I'll be back on Thursday with another Combat Sports News show. Lots to look forward to on the channel. We're approaching Wrestle Kingdom time. We'll be supplying some great coverage. I know Coco's going. I know Booms will be watching, and I'll be watching as well. So maybe we'll be able to jump on for a review of some kind. If not, I'll be breaking down the show regardless. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure you stay safe, stay well. This has been LK, and I'll be catching your answers down the line.